Hey everyone, welcome to the official tutorial for the ENDesigns Cell Phone Buddy. This is a mini wallet that you can attach to the back of your cell phone or use as a little freestanding wristlet. It has 4 card slots and a slip pocket on the inside. It closes with magnetic snaps, and you can optionally add on this wristlet strap. You can use tape to then adhere this to the back of your phone, and this cutout allows for the camera section on your phone so that you can use that to carry around your phone and your essentials. This is a really quick pattern to sew up, and it is great for using up scraps. It comes with the SVG files to make the cutting really easy, but you can also just cut it by hand, and it's just a great, quick little scrap busting pattern, super satisfying sew. So let's get going. For this project, you will need your exterior fabric already cut out, including the optional wrist strap. If you were doing the wrist strap, you will also need a swivel hook and a corset ring. You will need your lining fabric. You will need several different types of tape. I have duct tape, I have painter's tape, and I have double-sided tape. A ruler. If you are using a rivet, you will need something to punch your holes with and something to set with. You will also need 2 sets of magnetic snaps, as well as some scraps of Decaville or something of a similar weight to reinforce those magnet snaps. And I highly recommend a narrow zipper foot for helping with your top stitching. So let's get going. First up, we will do the card slot piece. So take your piece with the card slots already cut into it, and we are going to start by top stitching underneath these bottom card slots. To make sure that we get those slots nicely lined up, we're going to grab our painter's tape, and we're just going to put a little line at either end of those cuts there so that our top stitching lines will be even. I'm now going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew below the bottom card slot there. Not the top ones yet, just the bottom ones. A row of top stitching from one end to the other using long tails, which I will then pull through to the back and tie off. Grab your 2 long lining pieces and your double-sided tape, and we're going to put a line below the top card slots there. Then remove the paper from the back, and then we are going to put that card slot piece over that tape, pressing it down, and it goes about 1/4 inch below the line. Then we're going to flip that over, and we're going to go and sew below these top card slot openings, the same as we did for the bottom card slot openings, starting at this end, going through with long tails and pulling them through and tying them off. And that is going to sew this lining piece down at the same time. Grab your double-sided tape again, and we're just going to put it below that top stitched line. Peel the backing off. And then we're going to fold those card slot lining pieces down and just press that onto that double-sided tape. Grab your double-sided tape again. We're going to put it on the top of these card slots here. And then we're going to fold these lining pieces up, and you want it to sit so that there is about 1/4 inch below that card slot lining piece at the bottom here. So you're going to fold that and then press it onto that double-sided tape, and this lining piece will overhang just a little bit, and we will trim that shortly. We can now take this painter's tape off now that we've finished top stitching those card slots. I'm just going to trim that lining there. Flip it back over, and we're just going to put a strip of double-sided tape across the top there. Peel it off, and we're going to stick our lining piece down. With that stuck down, I'm now going to go over to the sewing machine again, and I'm going to sew along this upper edge, keeping that lining piece there out of the way with these card slot pieces still tucked underneath. So I'm just going to sew along that top edge there. So you can see I've sewn along this edge and on the front there. I'm going to take my tails and just knot those and trim those. Before we stick that lining piece down to the back of these card slots, we need to mark where our first set of magnetic snaps will go. So grab your ruler, and we're just going to mark 1/4 of an inch in from the side and from the bottom edge. These markings are important to make sure that you have enough room to top stitch around your magnets. Pop your washer on. And you're just going to measure where your snap is going to go. Grab your scraps, mark on those too. Then we'll just cut those slots. Grab one of your pairs. And you're going to put the socket part on the right-hand side and the stud on the left-hand side. Pop your scrap on the back and your washer. And when you're folding your prongs, you're going to want to fold them the same direction away from the edge of the material. So if you set them so that they are parallel with the side here, you're going to fold them both towards the center. If you set them so that they're parallel to the bottom, then you're going to fold them both up to the top. If you fold them out, you're going to have problems when you're top stitching. So just making sure you're folding them away from the edge, whichever way you set them. Then grab a little piece of duct tape and just put that over the prongs there, keeping that also out of the seam allowance so that you don't gum up your needle when you're top stitching. Now you can peel off that double-sided tape, and we're going to stick down that pocket lining piece over the card slots. And smooth everything down. And we can set that piece aside for now. Take your interior top piece there and your double-sided tape, and we're going to put a strip at the bottom. Then we're going to lay that lining piece straight down on top of that double-sided tape. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch along that line there. We're now going to place our magnets on the top section here. Grab your ruler and your pen again and do the same thing, marking 1/4 of an inch in from the side and the top. Again, with the socket side on the right and the stud on the left. And folding this away from your seam allowance. I've done this horizontally, and I've just realized if I had done it this way, I would have had an easier time folding the prongs both towards the bottom of the bag. Instead, I'm going to have to fold them both over on top of each other into the middle to avoid that top stitching line. So do as I say, not as I do, and fold your prongs that way. So when you do your marks, mark them perpendicular to the way that I've done. It just reduces the bulk there at the snap a little bit. I'm just going to press that down a little extra because I have them on top of each other there. Put some duct tape over that. And now we need to attach this to our exterior. You can use double-sided tape or you can use glue. So what you're going to do is you want to attach the top of your vinyl together around here. And you also want to adhere this pocket lining piece as well. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this purple glue for the lining piece. And then some double-sided tape for the top here. So lining up the edges at the top here, there is a little bit of bulk there because of that snap, so you're just going to want to press around it. But lining up those vinyl edges as well as you can around the bulk of the snap there. Press down the edge at the top and then smooth that lining piece down towards the bottom. And then we'll let that dry, and while it's drying, we will work on our wristlet strap. Grab your wristlet strap piece, and we're just going to draw a line straight down the center. Grab your double-sided tape and put that directly over that line. Peel it off, and we're then going to fold the raw edge towards the center, lining it up as well as we can, taking care not to twist our strap at all so that it will continue to sit nice and smooth and flat after we sew it. Putting that down onto the double-sided tape, pushing those raw edges together to meet in the middle so there's no gaps there. And because this is vinyl, we cannot iron it, but you can grab a seam roller and just really get a good crease in your strap there at the side. And then we will go and sew around this strap. I've sewn around the edge of the wrist strap, and now we're going to pop the swivel on. We're just going to slide the swivel up to one end. I've backstitched at this end, so that is going to be the end that is hidden, and this end is going to be the end that is exposed. So I'm just going to fold that in half with a little bit of overhang there and fold that up, and then just punch a hole through all the layers there, and then I'm going to place my rivet through the 3 layers where the strap is folded. And then I'm just going to go and press that rivet in place. We're now going to attach our card slot piece to our back piece. Before we do that, we're just going to trim a tiny little bit off the side here, just right around 1/8 or slightly less, just angle down the side. And that is going to help this piece to sit nice and flat when we have our cell phone buddy folded in half. So we're just going to trim those sides off there. Grab your double-sided tape again, and we're just going to put that around the edge of this back piece. Peel off that backing paper. And then we are going to lay this down, lining up the edges and along the side here, just pushing that down where we've trimmed that edge. And that just creates a little tiny gap there, which will mean that when we fold that over, it will sit nicely together. And press that down. You can also use clips if you like. And then we're going to go and top stitch around the edge of the entire piece. When I am top stitching around this main part of the cell phone buddy, the trickiest part is going around these magnetic snaps. These are 14mm snaps. If you have 10mm snaps, then that will make the top stitching a lot easier. But for mine, they're 14, which means that my clearance here is not very big for getting around with the regular size presser foot. So I am going to use my zipper foot with my needle set in the far left position and go around the entire outside, starting here where I will be attaching my corset hook. Top stitching around at 1/8 of an inch and not back stitching. Taking care to keep my layers lined up, especially as I go around that bulky part. And as I come up here where we have trimmed that card slot piece away, I'm just going to make sure that that is lined up with the edge there. And then again, as I get to where we've angled this card slot piece in, I'm just going to make sure that that is lined up flush with the edge of the exterior back. And when you have your presser foot here, just with that magnet behind it, you may just need your hump jumper just to support that presser foot as you come back around. And just meeting back up with where you started. And I'm just going to tuck those threads between the layers there. The last thing that we need to do is place our corset ring. If you are not using a wristlet strap, then your cell phone buddy can be done at this point. I am going to place the corset ring onto mine. If you're going to edge paint, you would do that before you put this corset ring on. You can punch that hole, and then you would set that rivet. And then your cell phone buddy is complete. With your wristlet strap attached through that corset ring. You can, if you wish, put some tape on the back of that and then stick it onto your phone case. And then you will have your cards with you wherever you go. We've got the 4 card slots there, and then the slip pocket in the middle, and your wristlet strap to carry it. Thanks, everyone.